Being taken for granted hurts. When a guy acts like you're only there to serve his needs and you'll stick around no matter how he treats you, you'll start to feel like you don't matter. So, how can you tell when you're being taken for granted, and why do men treat you this way? Hi, I'm Lucy Goldman from LoveLearnings. I'm here every week with new tips to help you take your love life to the next level. If you want relationship advice you can actually use, subscribe now. If you're here, then you know what it feels like to be taken for granted. When a man expects you to drop everything and be there for him, even though he won't do the same for you, you're being taken for granted. If you go out of your way to meet his needs, but it's a constant negotiation to have him meet yours, if he doesn't respond to your messages for long periods of time for no good reason, but here's something many women don't consider. Does he even know you feel this way? Most of the time, we feel taken for granted. The other person has no idea. They've never even considered it. That's why we call people who take us for granted inconsiderate. This doesn't let them off the hook, but it's important to be aware of this if we want to change how we're being treated. The bottom line is, whether or not he knows doesn't change how you feel. When he fails to show appreciation for all the things you do for him, or he consistently mistreats you and shows no sign that he cares, then you're being taken for granted. I know how you feel. I've had partners who treated me this way, and whatever their reasons were, it still made me feel so awful. So why do they do it? Let's cover a few reasons that they may be taking you for granted, and then we'll look at possible remedies. 1. Resentment. Sometimes what may seem like taking you for granted is really resentment. This is easy to miss because often he isn't even aware of it himself. He's holding on to deep negative feelings towards you that come from dozens of tiny unresolved conflicts. This kind of resentment unconsciously puts him into a state of competition with us. He feels like we've wounded him and he's trying to get even by taking more than he's giving out. This is an effort to get back some power, respect, or love he feels that he's lost. I think of it like having a conflict with your roommate. Say your roommate leaves the kitchen a mess. They leave dirty dishes for a week, the sink is full, and the cupboards are empty. If they suddenly ask you to vacuum the living room, you're not likely to jump at the chance, right? This dynamic is even more complicated in relationships because the expectations aren't as clear-cut as doing our chores or paying the rent on time. We have a million little things we want from one another that we don't know how to express, and when these needs aren't met, sometimes we strike back in subtle ways, and this just compounds the problem. This sounds extremely childish, but don't hold it against him. This is something that we all do in our own ways. It comes from a very deep place inside that we aren't even aware of. Now, this is why it is so important to communicate with your partner and work through conflicts rather than just sweeping them under the rug. It's not always easy, but when you respond to disappointment and hurt by closing off or striking back, it only makes matters worse. 2, you're a doormat. If you put his needs above yours, then this quickly becomes the dominant dynamic in your relationship. It's a hard pattern to break. It's not your fault you're being taken for granted, but it is up to you to make the first move if you want him to change. More on that later. Some people will be as selfish as we allow them to be. While we want to treat our partners right, we can sometimes overdo it and create an expectation that puts an unfair strain on us. Have you been showering your partner with gifts and undivided attention? Putting him on a pedestal like this can cause him to lose respect for you and get an inflated sense of what he deserves, all without ever being aware of it. You know those stories where they have to take a wall out of a house to get someone out because they're so overweight? There's always two people at fault in these situations. There's the obese person, but there's also the enabler. This is someone who will cater to their every need and allow them to keep living this dangerous lifestyle. Don't be that person for your partner. You may feel like you're just treating him nice, but at a certain point, you're actually doing damage. He needs to stand on his own 2 feet, or he'll always be reliant on you. This not only holds him back, but it'll actually make him resent you in the long run. It's unfair, but it's true. 3, he's over it. Sometimes people mentally check out of a relationship instead of just cutting things off. Maybe they're afraid to be alone. Maybe they're confused about what they want. Maybe they're a coward and they're just waiting for you to break it off. In these situations, it's common for people to stop putting in effort and stop showing appreciation. They don't show you value because they don't value you. Don't let this happen to you. Take a hard look at your relationship. Does he seem to be checked out? Does he no longer talk about your future together? Is he unwilling to commit and only spends time with you on his terms? This is a serious red flag, but it's possible to get things going again. If your relationship has become so distant that you're worried there may be no hope left, go to breakupbrad.com/quiz. This free quiz tool will take a measure of your relationship and let you know if you can save it or if it's over. Just answer honestly. It only takes 5 minutes. 4, they're busy. Some people's lives are full of stress, pressure, and constant obligations. They're always behind the 8 ball, rushing off to run errands or have meetings. And when they do spend time with you, they're too mentally exhausted from the rest of their life to pay you the attention that you deserve. This can be just as damaging to a relationship as other kinds of mistreatment, if not more so. No matter how good their reasons are, if they can't make you a priority, then it's going to put a strain on your relationship and leave you feeling unloved. So, how can you stop being taken for granted? First off, it's tempting to try to have that serious talk about how you feel and make them promise to improve their behavior. But this isn't always your best option. If the reason they're taking you for granted is because they've lost the spark, then this is only going to push them away further. The time for putting your foot down will come, but for now, I want to focus on the positive steps that will interrupt the cycle of taking you for granted. Change how they see you, improve their mood, and demonstrate your value. 1, change things up. When we're being taken for granted, it's often a matter of falling into a pattern, a routine. Any change in your life, no matter how small, can interrupt this pattern and change the way you two interact and treat one another. Changing your life can help in ways you don't expect, and that it's not always by attacking the problem directly that you're going to have the most success. Take this opportunity. Think about something else in your life that you're unhappy with and change it. 2, spend focused time together. Often, times hanging out means staring at our phones while half watching something on Netflix. This can make you feel alone, even when you're together. Plan a date or an activity together that will require your full attention. Rent a tandem bicycle, take a cooking class, go for a ride in a hot air balloon. It doesn't matter what you do. It just matters that you make the effort to focus on connecting without those distractions. This can be a great way to get your attention back on what matters. Each other. 3, spread positivity. If you're always showering your partner with gifts and attention, then this particular piece of advice isn't for you. Being taken for granted can go both ways. Often, your partner feels taken for granted in ways that you're not even aware of. Think about it. Do they know you feel taken for granted? So then how do you know they don't feel the same way? This is a tough pill to swallow, but it's something that you need to be aware of. This is an opportunity to show them that they're important to you. I want you to think of some things that you could do to make them happy and do them. It doesn't take something huge to turn the tide. It can be as small as buying them flowers or cooking dinner. This will create a good feeling in them that will in turn make them want to do nice things for you. 4, spend less time together. In economics, it's all about supply and demand. If something is short in supply, it's going to be more valuable and people are going to want it more. This is a principle you can bring to your relationship. It often happens that extremely close relationships lead to this feeling of being taken for granted. If you can spend more time apart, you'll start to appreciate your time together more and you'll value one another more. You don't have to ignore their messages and drop off the face of the map, but spending more time on your own, doing your own thing, will make them miss you. And when they miss having you around, they'll realize how valuable you truly are. 5. Talk about it. If you've tried all these things and he's still not treating you right, you should sit down and have an open and frank conversation about your relationship. This is especially helpful if there are concrete things he's doing that are making you feel this way. Tell him how his actions make you feel. As much as is possible, focus on the positive rather than the negative. Point out things he's done in the past that have made you happy and tell him that you just want more of that. By allowing him to use skills he already has, you're much more likely to get a positive result. So, there you have it. These are some powerful ways that you can get the attention and respect you deserve in your relationship. Thanks for watching. Bye!